There's only room for one bearded guy on this shelf, and that's me, Bubba. Okay people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Today we're taking a look at the Jazwares Fortnite Legendary Series Max Level Ragnarok. I have a love-hate relationship with Fortnite, and well, okay, not Fortnite, but Fortnite figures. I love them because they're neat figures, both from Jazwares and McFarlane Toys. The designs catch me off guard when a new figure is announced. I'm like, oh, I've never seen that before because I've never played the game. But I'm a fan of action figures, especially good action figures, and that's mostly what I've gotten. But I also hate it too because they keep coming out with more. I have a whole stack of Jazwares figures in there that I haven't gotten to. I think there's a couple of series, some exclusives, and now this. And they just appear out of nowhere. Which, okay, I don't really hate that. It's kind of cool, just something popping up and going, I don't have that now. But man, Wallet's just taking a beating this year. Looking at the package, it's what we saw with the Jazwares Fortnite Legendary Series Omega. So it's a bigger package than the regular series Fortnite figures. But you can see everything you're getting in the big old window. There's Fortnite, there's Ragnarok, there's a picture. On the side of that picture again, now that I've moved a little bit, it's kind of holographic. It's got some colors to it. On the back, it seems a little bit barren. But that's okay, this is the trash around my plastic. Show the figure, show what it comes with, Epic Games, the no bootleg hologram up here. Ragnarok, the cold harbinger of fate. Or if you're hillbilly like me, Harbinger, because that's how I read it 3 times before realizing, oh, dumbass. One figure, 17 accessories. Here's other figures in the series that I still have in the package. I need to open those someday. On the other side, second verse, same as the first. On top, window, let light shine down on the figure. On the bottom, bunch of warnings. Don't stick it in your mouth. Jazwares, UPC. Let's get this open and see what's going on here. Okay, oh, there's instructions. It shows, again, what you're getting here. All the accessories, all the weapons. Back here, it's where to plug all those things in. Which is helpful because, well, I guess I could just look at the picture. Getting the figure out of the package and in hand and messing around with it for a little bit, it's cartoony, it's video gamey, but at the same time, it's got some excellent proportions. It's kind of tough looking. There's a smoothness, a softness to the sculpt, but I think that matches the game. So, I mean, I can't really complain about it, except from my own personal preference. Me, I like a little bit more detail, but because of the consistency of this line, this is what it's supposed to look like in my eyes. I think, well, it's another Fortnite figure. But I say all that, and then you get to the fine details, like the buckles. Those are nicely punched in. There's even simulated holes for the belt to, tighten up and loosen. The wrinkles around the knee aren't bad. It kind of shelves out right there, or, well, I guess it overhangs. The fur at the top of the boot, again, it's stylized. It's the look of Fortnite, so you know what it is. The boot's nice and clunky with these straps coming around the top. The wraps around the arm, that could have been just painted on or just kind of thrown at it, but there's actual straps there. And then up at the head, it follows that same style. The skin tone is a little bit pale, but I think of this guy as usually under armor, so I can't say much about that. Mustache looks awesome. He has some scarring over the right eye. The light blue is essentially the only paint used here, from the belt up actually, but I like how it stands out against the pale skin. And I like how it's almost a glow effect. Getting back a ways, standing on the shelf, it's got this effect that it's kind of cool. But you can tell this is a base figure for other things to plug onto. It's actually not as bad as I thought it would be. You notice the peg holes right there on the biceps, and then there's peg holes down on the front of the shins. And that's about it. Well, I mean, most figures have a hole back here. And getting it back here, I didn't notice it until just now. You can see a color difference between the torso piece and the rest of the body. And I guess you can see that on the front. There doesn't seem to be much difference in the plastic, but I'm pretty sure that this is a hard plastic. This is a softer plastic for the rest. Or he's got a reverse farmer's tan. I was kind of worried about the seam line running up and across. Oh, look at that. What? There's kind of a fade of blue up there. He's been standing under icicles too long or something. But I was worried about the seam for the removable faceplate, and it is noticeable. But when you're sitting and playing with it, it's not that bad. And it also has a nice snap to it, but we'll get to that. Getting it back though, oh well, now that I've noticed it, I can't unsee the pinkness of the upper torso. Going over articulation, there is a ball at the top of a hinge on the neck. Nice up, not bad down. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of crevice under there, so no tilt. There is swivel though. Butterfly shoulder comes forward a little bit, goes back. Hinges swivel at the shoulder, but man, the detents on the shoulder are tight. Not so much on this side though. It's weird. Oh, and look how much, wait, let's try to, there we go. Crane kick. And then of course that swivels around. Rotation at the bicep. Double elbow comes up to most of the way. Hinge at the wrist and then swivel. Although the left one on mine is fused. I tried to force it, but I haven't got it to budge. Have one finger joint across the knuckles, opens up, closes. Ball at the torso, you get some swivel up there. Little bit of crunch, not much. A little bit of arc back, no tilt. Swivel at the waist too. Hinge and swivel at the hips, again detense, comes up not quite 90. Back, out. Better than most Marvel Legends. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee, I talked about this ledge sticking out right here, and this is where it comes into effect. It comes up that far. Swivel at the boot. Hinge at the ankle goes back, goes forward. Forward facing pin for some rocker, and then just a little bit of toe. And then there's accessories. Like I said, most Jazwares Fortnite figures have removable faceplates that just pops right off. The other ones just pop right on. And it's the same face, you just have this hair hanging over the side and then a longer beard. And here there's actually two shades of blue. You have the light blue from the first faceplate, and then you have a darker blue down in the crevices, bring out the detail a little bit. Off with you. And then there's a third faceplate, pretty much the same hair hanging down, but you have this way longer beard, and then we bring in another color with the gold holding the beard braids. I think this may be my favorite, for reasons unknown. Comes with this harvesting tool, and as much as I talked about there just being one color on the torso, one color on the head, the metal here has a nice wash to it, just to bring some age to it, some detail, some patina. I really dig the metal look here. But I think that's painted over a translucent blue that you can kind of see here, but you can see it more over here. And that travels all the way down to here, which I actually think that's painted. That doesn't seem translucent. And then we get this gun. There's a hint of realism to it, but it's definitely stylized, definitely cartoony. I really like the colors here. It's almost a camo type paint job on it, but the greens, the darker greens, the blacks here just work perfectly. But that brings me to my major issue with this line overall, and that's the articulated fingers. It's a nice callback to the Toy Biz days of earlier action figures where we got articulated fingers. You're not going to use this for fists. Well, I guess you could. You still have the finger sticking out though. You're not going to use it for open hands. You have a trigger finger there. That's all fine and good. The problem I have is when you actually try to get the figure to hold its accessories. Close it around it, and it holds, but if you go to mess with it at all, oh, now you're going to just be tight on the gun, aren't you? Been struggling this whole time taking pictures. Now he's going to hold it. And I have kind of figured out that if you take this and jam it under the thumb, it is a better hold over there too, but he does loosen his grip over time. You can get it to work. It's not the end of the world, but me personally, I'd prefer just a C hand where you can just stick it in there. He's going to hold it. And then there is all of this gear. Go ahead and take this off. And after messing with this several times, I think I've got the order down. If you want to take the chest plate, again, we get that nice look to it where it's kind of streaked with a dirtier color. It looks used. It looks worn. Can't gripe about that. But it also has these other leather colors painted in, which is done nicely. Look at the buckle right there. That unhooks in the back, and I really like this design. You actually have 3 clasps right there. And we can remove the hands since we'll be switching those out too. And once you slip this on and over the back, you just put that against the body. You bring the other half over and you push it down. It's a little bit tight. It may gap a little bit, but I really like how easy that is to do, which is almost the opposite of how they did this. It's a mushroom peg, so it sticks in there. And I understand wanting to do that. It's a more secure fit, but once you try to put it around his waist and then snap that in there, y'all remember back in the 80s trying to put He-Man stuff on. Sometimes it just does not work. You have to kind of fiddle up underneath, realize where the mushroom peg isn't going, but once it's on there, it is on there. It being a single peg though, if you pull it down a little bit, it wants to turn the buckle sideways. So if that's going to bug you, which it's not bugging me, I'm not going to keep messing with it until it's straight, but I will. Next we have these bracers. Again, worn metal look. It's got a rope holding it on there, and the rope is the key to which side you put it on. There may be an R or an L in there somewhere, but my trick is the crisscross applesauce goes on the front of the arm. You have the big hole, you have the small hole, you have the metal to the outside. That means this is the right one. Very tight fit. You gotta kind of jam it on there. And then you have an alternate set of hands with the same kind of metal plate on the back of that. Same articulation as the regular hands. Do the same with the left side. The shoulder pads, even though they are not symmetrical, you have this bone look on one side, you have the metal look on the other. They are marked with an R and L, so you'll always know where to put them. And this is probably my least favorite attachment because you have this peg hole, but there's also a clamp around the bicep, so you're fighting against that, trying to line up the hole in the peg and trying to get down in there and trying to push. And then when you do, it's kind of a secure fit. For whatever reason, the left side is a little bit easier to get on there. The Shin Guards, hey, Guess what? It's metal, it's got a dark wash to it, it's got some leather paint on top of it. Looks worn, looks used. These look pretty much symmetrical, but they aren't shaped quite the same, especially down here at the ankle. But again, fortunately, there is an R, there is an L, so you'll know which side to put these on. You do have to push directly onto it. If you try to push up here, it seesaws. It pulls the peg out. You push it here below the fur line of the boot, it goes all the way in. There is this awesome helmet. Again, translucent blue with the bone color painted over it. You can tell because it kind of fades into translucency up here. But the beard is the big place you can see it. There's some dirtiness here and there on the bone to make it look even more bone-like. And then you have long hair sticking out the back. It surprised me that this wasn't a replacement for the head. This actually goes over the head, and there looks like enough space for the whole head with the faceplate on it. But I've taken to just slipping it over the head without a faceplate. That gives it a little bit more room to shift around, get around. You pop it on over the ears, but that extra space in there allows for some shift forward and back because it's not directly over the head. It even gives you a little bit of tilt. But the beard and then the back hair is going to be a little bit restrictive of turning it all the way around. In fact, the shoulder pads, the torso piece, this kinda at the legs, that hinders a lot of movement because that shoulder pad runs into there just one click up, lost all torso movement. It still gets up to here. But at the same time, if you were Ragnarok and you just put on all this armor, you're gonna kind of be clunking around too. Just go, hey, can somebody help me get on a horse? There's a horn on the side, you know, in case you need aid from Gondor. To finish it all up is the back bling, which is essentially a flat cape. It does have this plastic detail up at the top with this leather piece hanging down, some bone, some metal. Hey, guess what? It's got a wash. But this is very interesting. It's kind of leather-like here. In fact, when I pulled it out, I thought, oh, it's a rubber piece, but very soft. You flip it over, there's fabric on this side. So it is kind of a faux leather. I don't think I've ever had a figure with this substance on it. And if I did, I don't remember it. But it being back bling, it just plugs right there. I'm thinking these are clasps of some kind. I wish it kind of conformed down and actually touched the torso. Ragnarok stands at pretty much exactly 6 inches tall to the top of his head. Here he is with the other figures in the Jazwares Fortnite line. Just fits in perfectly. The fun of this line is personified right here. Well, if I had Peely out, it'd look even better. But just to reiterate, the Jazwares line is 6 inch, while McFarlane's line is 7 inch. If not more. There's a huge difference between these two Ragnaroks. That's why I kind of drift toward... I didn't even mean to do that. Drift towards the McFarlane line for the big beast type characters. And then for humans, I go with the Jazwares. Well, I buy everything Jazwares just because it's cool. This gives you an even better idea of the difference between McFarlane and Jazwares. Here it is with the Hasbro Star Wars Black Series Stormtrooper and the Marvel Legends Black Panther. Still a little bit small, kind of true 6 inch scale here. Again, Hasbro Star Wars Black Series, Hasbro Marvel Legends. So at the end of the day, a little restricted, but god dang, it's a fun figure. Every time I review a Fortnite figure, I go through the same thing. It's like, I have no clue what this is about, but dang it, do I like the look of it. Ragnarok's no different. Sure, he has a bunch of crap just hanging off of him once you get all the accessories on there. But after messing with it for a while and putting it into poses and everything, I haven't had the parts pop off on me. If I had to choose a look though, as much as I love the armor up on top of it, I kind of like the base figure a little bit more, the way it came out of the package. The bald, shortest beard one kind of seems like the father figure, like he's sending his son off to fight the battle for him, but he's sad because he can't go. And then of course there's the Techno Viking vibe from the other two heads. Armored up, that's the thing that the father's sending his son to fight, that he's worried about. Oh, my son against this big creature? I don't know. This is one of those instances where you kind of need two. The big badass armored look and the worried father Viking staying back at home. But as usual, that's okay. It's a fun figure. That's how I describe this whole line. It's just fun. The articulation scheme is kind of a throwback to what we remember back in the early Marvel Legends days, but the sculpting and everything, it's very modern-ish, especially considering it's from a game that's still going on right now. And if you're like me, you've never played the game, but you have lots of other 6 inch displays, this will fit anywhere. You can put it in as a bruiser here, or fighting the turtles, or a Star Wars creature, or anything your imagination wants the figure to be. And I think that's the big part of the fun factor. Sure, the action figures are cool, but the fun is you're coming up with your own storylines, your own characters. So if you enjoyed the review, comment, like, subscribe, or whatever the platform you're watching this on allows. Much love to the plus. If you're interested in seeing videos early or in a position to help out the channel, patreon.com. But wherever you may be watching this, I'll catch you on the Fwoosh.